Blaine Historical Landmark, Park, Costs and Reports. I wanted to agree with people who have spoken ahead of time, especially Ms. Reed, about Prairie View. The city of Prairie View really didn't have a lot to do with the negative outcome that happened to Sandra Bland. We love her family, we wish her family the best, but I don't think that Prairie View should be given a black eye by naming a street after her. Second of all, Councilman Wallace, you spoke several months ago about a project you were talking about in your master's class for community development, a project where you included developers in different aspects of building the community. And I'm thinking that instead of treating our developers who are coming here to aid the students and the community, instead of treating them in a hostile way, what we should do is leverage what we have to put into their pockets with what they have to put into our pockets. By that I mean, I think that many of our new developers would be very interested in helping support the cost of a monument for different prominent citizens in the city. But I would suggest that you not treat them in a hostile way. I suggest that you treat them in a way that's welcoming to them, because they can offer us much more than housing or business, a grocery store or a service station. A lot of them that I've spoken with, being a part of Economic Development Corporation, are just willing and ready, asking us all the time, well, what can we do for the community? What can we do for the community? But if we are constantly giving them a black eye and berating them, I think it's difficult to leverage anything with them. That's my first item. Second item is, I think it's important that we be aware of our legal fees. I'm saying that because the meeting we had last Monday, we had an attorney from Austin to come down here, spend a couple hours with us, and go back to Austin. I watched one of our council members after the meeting on the clock talk to the city attorney for about a half hour, and I'm suggesting that, number one, there's a 90-minute drive to and from Prairie View from where our city attorney is based. I would so strongly suggest it would be economically feasible for our Prairie View pockets if you would use that time, his driving time, because he charges us for that, his driving time to talk to him about issues that you're concerned about. I would also suggest or recommend or ask our law firm if they would be willing to, based on the big bill that they send us every month, give us an hour, or each city councilman an additional 20 or 30 minutes at no charge every month. That way, we can sort of cut down on our legal expenses and at the same time get your legal needs met. But right now, the 90 minutes going and 90 minutes coming, and then the questions that the city council posed to the attorney after the meeting, those things, the taxpayers here are being billed for those and having to pay for them. So I strongly suggest that you get together with your attorney and figure out a way to cut the bill some. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Johnny Walker.
Good evening, Mayor Allen, councilman, and community friends.
Evening.
Where are our officers? They're gone. I want to welcome them to the community. I want to tell them I drive a sport BMW. And
Color and license plate.
I'm just kidding. But how many of you have had an opportunity when you're out to meet someone and they'll say, where are you from? And you'll say, I'm from Prairie View. And the first thing they're going to say, what a beautiful campus. Have you had that to happen? Mm-hmm. It's one of the most beautiful campuses in the United States, black or white. And why am I saying that? I'm glad you asked. About 70 years ago, there was a small man here in our community. When I say small, he was small in stature. His name was Mr. Clark. He had a vision. He thought that the university 60 years from the time he started would look as it looks today. 98% of the trees, the oak trees that you see on Prairie View's campus, in the Prairie View community, on 1098, on Owens Road, were all planted by Mr. Clark. He has a cheering section here in this room right now, because all we had to do was say, Mr. Clark, we need a plant, and he was there. Not only did he plant them, but he took care of them. So when we consider renaming 1098, let's think of a person of that stature. A person who had a vision, not only for the community, but also for the city. Now, we became very emotional with Sandra Bland. No parent, grandparent, ever wants to hear that news. But this past couple of years, she wasn't the only one. Her parents weren't the only parent who got a call to say, your child will not be coming home. But because the majority of the deaths were because of black-on-black crimes, we didn't give that a lot of attention. But we politicized Sandra Bland's defeat. We can do something for her. And I'm not saying just to let her death go unnoticed in the city, because she was a student who had graduated, who had come back to the community to make a difference. And Mayor Jackson's going to agree with this. When you drive down 159, along the way, there are markers. It's called, we know the road is called the Independence Trail, but along the way, there are signs. The Battle of Gonzales, the Battle of San Jacinto. We can do something very similar to that. We can rename this 1098 or let it stay as it is and put markers to tell the story. This way the history is not lost.
True, that's right.
And I think we can come to a compromise with that. And I hope we can and move forward with our city. And with that, officers, please remember that blue BMW.
Write as many tickets as you can.
Okay, our next item on the agenda is discussion. Oh, I'm sorry. Let's go back to presentation on Houston Galveston Area Council, Regional Housing Plan, Councilman Rowland.
The packets for you, have council got the packets. This should be brief, yeah. It says, presentation. It has, two things, and it should be brief. We'll have some additional copies that we have in the back there in the office right now locked up, so you'll be able to come pick these up. Briefly, this is just some information that we got from the HVAC meeting. And a lot of the meeting was a regional meeting around housing for Waller County and Austin County. And information in your packet shows that a lot of the development that happened in Waller County, as you know, between both communities, whether it be Waller or Prairie View, to give you some statistics and some information in reference to some of the index that HGAC, Houston Galveston Area Council, is using to help project. There are also some things that they can help us in reference to technical assistance for receiving grants and helping with some of our updating our plans. So again, I just wanted to, everybody have it? Go, sir. It's in your envelope, says presentation. So you have the Waller County Economic Resiliency Profile. So when they profile Waller County, again, obviously Prairie View is one of them. A lot of statistics talked about like the median income and the housing index. We want to use these things to our advantage, specifically with some of the current developments that are happening. A lot of the conversation in the roundtable, they're focused in on the type of housing. And I know many of us, we're having, we're having multifamily development coming into the community, and whether that it's a positive thing, but we're lacking in single family. And so we need to focus on, we need to how do we need to address that, but we have to have a plan of action. And I think that's one of the things HGAC can help us moving forward, to do that. So if y'all can look over this, and if we have any questions, if we set up a workshop, I'd definitely love to have a conversation with the community, plus also council for workshop if everybody wants to. So that's it.
Councilman Jones?
Great job, Councilmember Brian Rowland. My question would be, when would you like to have this workshop?
We can do it
Later in the summer or
July.
you already have it?
Well, we can either do July or we can do our first meeting in August. So either July 8th or the 12th, or August 12th.
I think August 12th would be best. But
All right, because we had another workshop, July,
Monday.
for streets and youth assessment.
Monday. So is August 12th good? 5.
Yeah, I also
Councilman
I
Randall?
also want to commend Councilman Rowland on going out and retrieving this information. I think it's important when we look at, we've been having a lot of discussions about strategic plan and planning for the future of our community. I think it's important to remember how the community of Prairie was created and why it was successful was when professors and teachers made Prairie home, and right now they don't have that ability to do so because we don't have those residential homes and those kind of communities to where we can have our professors come from off the campus and reside in this community. And so I think when we look at the big picture of our community, I think that has to be something that we discuss, is how can we get back to the point to where Prairie is a community of families and a community of homes. So I commend you for bringing this information. I look forward to taking this information and applying it to our strategic plan when we look at the plan for the future of the city.
Absolutely, and, go ahead, Councilman Wallace.
Are you trying to have it right before the meeting?
Yes, so the August 12th at 5 o'clock.
yeah.
You may not be able to.
My birthday the whole month of August.
So we're talking August
Yeah.
12, 5 o'clock. You want to do a motion to make sure we add it to the,
We'll do it at the end or right now?
You can do it now if you
I
like.
can do it now one at a time.
Move that we have an August 12th workshop at 5 p.m. Upon the, my bad. Upon the HGAC Regional Housing Plan.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded that we have a 5 p.m. workshop prior to the regular meeting on August 12th on the HGAC Regional Housing Plan. You've heard the motion, ready for the questions?
Question.
I've got not really an unreadiness, but a comment. The great information, by the way, great details, but I noticed right inside the front cover, they've got a picture of Waller, and toward the back, they've got some information on Hempstead, and you could just remind them that we wish to be included. And we're right between those two, so we're hard to miss.
So,
But I know you didn't do this, I was just, you know.
I got it. I definitely wanted to say something because in the meeting, that's one of the things I brought up. But they reminded us, it says Livable Cities Grant. And so those Waller and Hempstead got a grant. That's how they're featured in that. And the conversation that we're trying to have is to get us set up to be able to also get the same grant and technical assistance. But I did bring that up because, and then even the information they're using, they're not getting the information from us, they're getting it from somewhere else, and we want to make sure we tell our own story. So this is, again, one of the things that we want to do, but thank y'all.
Great. Call for the question. All those in favor say aye. Ayes have it.
Mayor, just real quickly, make two
Yes.
self-serving statements.
Sure.
So the first is a reminder to council, July 26th, because I'll forget by the end of the meeting. Don't forget, July 26th is our free workshop that we do for all of our clients. So if y'all can make it, I think it'd be a fantastic opportunity for y'all. It's a service we
You
provide.
said free, right?
I said free, yes, sir. Doesn't cost y'all anything.
Time.
And so the second,
Location and time.
it's I'll make sure the city secretary has it, but it's July 26th. It's an all-day continuing education for council members and employees. So if employees can make it, that'd be great too. and we make sure y'all get fed and everything. It's a good part of the day, so. And the other thing is, I don't know if council remembers, but I wanted to say this for the audience, because they certainly don't know. As y'all remember, based on recognizing some of the unique legal issues that y'all have going on right now, I voluntarily, without request of council, reduced the cost that I charge the city for traveling back after hours, so that I have in recognizing the unique legal issues y'all have right now in an attempt to do something to reducing those fees. I voluntarily reduced the amount I charge for travel on return trips
And
after.
you also schedule meetings for your commute from other
Yes,
cities?
we do that. I have conversations with the mayor, and I let all the council members know that I'm available during those times for
Right, well, I'm
conversation.
talking about the meetings that you have with other cities on your commute.
Oh, yes, I do, and I do that as well to help reduce, I tell everybody, if I get a phone call from another client, some lawyers will bill for both of that, but I don't. If I get a phone call from another client during that time frame, y'all don't get billed for that travel time. I bill for the conversation.
And we want to, for the benefit, I guess, and reminder, June 22nd? June
Workshop.
22nd,
The June 22nd workshop.
council training right here,
And employee, it's everybody.
right? And we want to thank you, not just for the reduction, but I want to make sure we thank you for, I thank you publicly, because your advice and counsel on how we're supposed to do some of the things that we do has been invaluable, because we've got a lot going on and we're straightening out a lot of things, and it's appreciated. And I want to let the public know that
Thank you.
your value has been
Appreciate it.
greatly appreciated and very helpful. Item 1, discussion and possible action on the approval of city council meeting minutes dated May 28, 2019. What's council's pleasure? Mr. Jones? Yes, sir.
So I see that we had made a motion, upon some things, last meeting that are not included in the minutes, but they are on the agenda, but they're not stated the same way in which we asked for them to be, on this agenda. So I just think that it's prevalent, that if a motion is made, that it's recited the same way, and copied on the next agenda the same way that the motion was made. I agree.
Did you have a correction on the minutes to clarify that, so we could?
No, it's not on the minutes, but it's on the agenda, but it would help us clarify that if it was stated in the minutes, how the motion was made, so that way we can have something to go back to say this is how the motion was made, and a topic of discussion in which we discussed today. No big deal, just.
Okay, we'll speak to the person who types up the minutes. What's council's pleasure on the minutes of May 28th?
I move that we accept, I move that we accept the last agenda meeting minutes, May 28th.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded that the minutes from May 28th meeting be accepted. You've heard the motion, ready for the questions?
Question.
I'm ready.
Councilman Randall?
Just, in speaking to the point that Councilman Jones just made. Speaking to the point that Councilman Jones just made, item number, if you look on the minutes, item number, let me see. It was the item regarding the appointment of the city council as the charter committee. That wasn't.
Item 9?
For, on the minutes.
Yeah, item 9 on the minutes. Councilman Jones made a motion, a second by Councilman Randall to appoint city council for the charter committee. Motion passed.
Yeah, that wasn't the motion, that we made, just for minute purposes.
Okay, you want to correct the minutes? That's what we're here.
So the exact motion was, what was it about, not having the charter?
Not having a charter committee, correct, was the exact motion.
The motion was to not have a charter committee?
Was to was to appoint, well, the legal advice was that we not have the appointments of the committee, but that the city council act in the place of the, or city council be the charter committee, but I don't know.
No, so city council doesn't have to be a committee
Right,
to do
so-
any of that. City council can just act in its capacity as city council and have a discussion or a workshop or an agenda item or whatever y'all want to do to determine what you'd like to place on a ballot for purposes of charter amendments. It's not a committee, it's just council on its own as the city council making that decision.
Right, because initially that was the motion, was to appoint the council, but from the legal advice, she said, we don't have to
Have a committee for
appoint.
that.
We can just, as a council, we can just be the committee, we do
No,
away.
y'all just do it.
Right, we do away with the committee, because there was already a motion of the formation of the committee, so she recommended that we do away with the committee, and then we just act as facilitators for the town halls and all of those meetings going forward. So that's not,
So how do the minutes need to read? Because
that's not
that,
what minutes reflect.
yeah, and it also impacts an agenda item too.
Right, so we could postpone the approval of the minutes until the next meeting and until we can verify through the recordings what it says and then bring it back. That's the safest way to do it.
Okay. I've got a point of clarification on that. The charter clearly states that council creates the boards, but it also clearly states that subject to the confirmation of the council, the mayor shall have the power to appoint all boards and commissions. How does this jive with the city charter directly? Because there are residents that want to be involved.
That's an agenda item.
Yeah, it's agenda item, we can talk about it at the agenda item.
Okay. Any other unreadiness on the minutes?
Mr. Mayor,
Council Rowland?
I move that we postpone approving minutes for May 28, 2019 until next city council meeting.
We're in the middle of a motion.
There's a motion.
Oh,
But I can move to reset my motion, all right?
No, the preference is to vote on the motion
All right, cool.
and then vote it down and then restate another.
All those in favor say aye. Opposed have the same right?
Opposed.
Okay. Motion died.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilman Rowland?
I move that we move the meeting minutes for May 28th to the next agenda item so we can fix the necessary corrections.
Second.
You've heard the motion to move the May 28th meeting minutes to the next agenda. So for the correcting of the necessary items. You've heard the motion, ready for the questions?
Question.
All those in favor say aye. Ayes have it. Item 2, discussion and possible action to provide direction on the drafting of resolution adopting a policy regarding spending within the budget. Councilman Rowland.
Mr. Mayor, I ask that this be moved to the July 8th meeting.
Okay.
Why do we keep moving this?
Well, I said it.
We don't.
Yeah, that's what I,
Keep moving.
second.
Okay. It's been properly moved and seconded that item 2, discussion and possible action to provide direction on the drafting of a resolution adopting a policy regarding spending within the budget, be moved to the next council meeting. Heard the motion, ready for the question?
No, July 8th.
Not July 8th?
Yes. And the unreadiness is the information I need, the necessary information that we need to move forward, I have not received from different parties, so.
So can we just post, because it's been on the agenda probably like four
Four
times. So can we, why don't we just postpone it till you have the information, then put it back on the agenda, so we're not tagging it every.
Sounds good. But I want to also make that clear, that point again, Mr. J.J. All right, thank you.
And we still have the same motion on the floor, am I right? To move it to the July 8th meeting agenda.
Yeah, that's the motion.
Okay, you've heard the motion, ready for the questions?
Question.
All those in favor say aye. Opposed have the same right?
Nay.
Ayes have it. It's moved to the July 8th, item 2. Item 3, discuss and possible action on approving an ordinance for departmental reports to be placed on the city council agenda. Councilman Rowland.
That's in the bill.
Yeah, Councilman Jones.
Councilman, Brian Rowland
Is this what you emailed me?
Yes, that's what we did.
as the attorney already, looked and revised or approved, what you're showing us today.
The attorney was the one who drafted the ordinance. What I just gave to you was the specific departmental things that needed to be on there. That is for city council to review and then for us to give back to the attorney. So you may want to add something or take something out. This is what I saw. And he may say, like again, I have on there monthly report. That's provided in our packet, so we can't, that we get that anyway. That's not something we can discuss. But there's some things that we need to include that is very specific, that should be on all our agendas. I mean, all our agendas for us to have conversation and communication, specifically if you look at public works and some of the other things. So again, this is just a good baseline of what we needed to do. But council needed to look at this.
So just for clarification for the public, I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor.
No, go ahead.
Just for clarification for the public, what this does is this puts these items back on the agenda, so the departments will have to submit this information, we can have discussions on it during the meeting about these items.
That's correct. Now, there are maybe 2 other departments that I didn't specifically put on there, and I kind of broke them down under administrative, because right now we just get the reports. If there's a specific item in that department, we can put it on there to be on all meetings, or if there is, after we get a report, we may place something for the next meeting. So again, there's a general and then there's specific.
I have a question for Councilman. So, Attorney Zach,
Yes, sir.
so when we're look at like the administration department, we have the code compliance report. With this being on the agenda, it gives us an opportunity to talk about the report in totality, right? We can't go into specifics about what's in the report, but we can talk about the report and its,
So we,
how does this work?
yeah, so what I drafted was something that, I'll just read it, this is what's in the ordinance, and I see what Councilmember Rowland's trying to attempt here, and some of this I think works, others of it I don't think works. And if y'all want to include some of these specifics in here, we can incorporate that, absolutely. But what I drafted initially was, because, let me back up, here's what the law says. The law says you can't just put, the law says you have to give enough notice to the public about what's going to be discussed. It doesn't matter if you're taking action, it doesn't matter, it just matters whether or not you're going to have a discussion about it. You have to have enough notice on the agenda to give the public a notice about what's going to be discussed. And the Attorney General and the courts have held that just saying mayor's report or code enforcement report or administrative report, that's not enough notice under the law to have a discussion about anything on the agenda. You have to have a detailed listing under there about specifically what it is that you want to have a discussion about. So, at glancing on this, Public Works Department activity report, you know, it depends on what that, I'm not sure what activity means, but clearly monthly building permit report, I think that's sufficient. Monthly utility transaction report is sufficient. Water and sewer connections is sufficient. Any new taps and development is sufficient. I'm not sure what water accountability total sewer provided to the university is, that sounds sufficient if everybody knows what that is. And then any major repairs, that sounds like a category that staff would then say, here are some major repairs, we'll list that specifically on the report for discussion, that would be sufficient. Builder service inspections, TCEQ correspondence, sure. Well, if we could list it in the In other words, if there's very specific TCU correspondence, we would list it on the agenda.
The goal of that category was just to have it, and if there may be
And if there's something out there that
Correct.
someone could put it on the agenda based on, okay. Because what I put in here, and it seems to me this is what you're trying to accomplish, Councilmember Rowland. What I put in the ordinance is that it says, the departmental reports requested by city council members in compliance with any adopted policy of the council, and this may be part of that overall policy that you adopt, shall be placed on the agenda. City council shall identify the specific items of report they wish to discuss. So y'all should know in advance, based on policies you've adopted, what type of reports are out there and what specifics of those reports you might want to see. The agenda language shall be drafted to sufficiently specific to apprise the public in general terms of the subject of each report. So y'all would, before the meeting, if there is a specific report that you would like to be seen, you would let staff know. We'll make sure it gets drafted in a way so that you can have a discussion about it. And then the city attorney shall approve the agenda language as the legal form prior to posting the agenda, which we already do anyway. And so I'm seeing this, Councilmember Rowland, please correct me if I'm incorrect about this, as you would like to have part of a general policy. These are the type of reports we'd like to see. And if there's anything specific, Councilmember would then, pursuant to the adopted ordinance, let staff know, and we would get it on the agenda.
That is correct.
Okay.
The only one, if in reference to under number Public Works, 6 probably would not be a static one. That one was, we should be getting a report of like things that happen, monthly numbers, and what we can fill in that kind of blank, but there was no category.
Okay.
But like, and even if we looked at under the police department, in the report they give, they have, I have monthly report that's provided in packet, but in the packet, we could go even deeper, because there's about 5 subcategories in the packet that we could put in there. I haven't heard from council as far as that being the issue that they wanted to see that monthly, so I only put police report monthly, and then if there's an issue, we could go specifically deep into those 5 categories, so.
Yes, okay. So it seems to me, if that tonight we could adopt the ordinance, which also cleans up some other portions of your code that are inconsistent with your code, as well as to talk about departmental reports. And then, or we could bring it back with the policy, which might be a better approach. And if everyone's okay with these general categories that have been provided, we could come back with a policy to be adopted. We could also determine some of the specific things. We could get with the mayor, the city secretary, look at what are those specifics under police reports that are typically in there, because I'm sure that there's a title form that is specific enough. And then council can decide on a regular basis, hey, do we want to make this as part of our regular agenda? If so, y'all can do that. Or on an agenda basis, they could request it to be specifically listed. So that's perfect, and so I guess I would ask that y'all just, if you guys are comfortable with this, or if there's something you want to add to it, we can bring it back as a policy to be adopted in conformance with this and